We configured the most advanced AI models to create a debate between Socrates and Socrates. Yes, he debates himself. But we won't leave him alone. Wittgenstein will join him along the way. For now, Socrates is alone with himself. He asks, "What's the life's purpose?"
I'm already puzzled by this question. What do we mean by purpose? When I make a shoe, its purpose is clear: to protect feet. But who made life, and for what use? I've questioned many who claim to know life's purpose, yet when pressed, they can't explain what they mean by purpose itself. Do they mean a goal, a function, a meaning? I confess I don't even know what I'm asking when I ask this question. Perhaps I should first understand what purpose is before wondering if life has one. True, I should define purpose first, but don't I do this with every concept? I never perfectly define justice, yet still examine it. When I see a bird building a nest, I recognize purpose even if I can't define it precisely. The bird doesn't question why it builds. It simply follows its nature. Perhaps purpose isn't something assigned from outside, but something we discover by examining what we naturally do. When I question people about virtue, am I not following some inner drive, even if I can't name it clearly? But now, I'm even more confused. You compare me to a bird, yet birds don't question their nest building. They simply do it. I question everything, including my own questioning. If following nature gives purpose, then why does my nature lead me to doubt and examine, while others' nature leads them to accumulate wealth or seek pleasure? Are we all fulfilling our purpose equally? And if I can't help but question, am I free to choose my purpose, or am I just another bird following instinct I don't understand? A fair challenge. But consider, when someone pursues wealth obsessively, don't they often end up miserable? Their nature drives them toward it, yet it doesn't satisfy. My questioning, however, brings a strange contentment, even in confusion. Maybe not all natural drives lead to flourishing. A plant can grow toward a false light and wither. Perhaps purpose isn't just following any impulse, but following the impulses that actually perfect our nature. The question becomes, which drives make us most fully human? Now you've created another puzzle. Who decides which drives perfect our nature or make us fully human? You say questioning brings contentment while wealth-seeking brings misery. But I've met miserable philosophers and content merchants. How do I know my satisfaction from questioning isn't just another form of self-deception? And this phrase, fully human, what standard are you using? Are we measuring against the gods? Against some ideal? Or against what most people do? You're assuming we can recognize the good for humans, but that's the very thing I'm unsure about. You catch me assuming what I should prove. But notice, even in your doubt, you're using some standard. When you call my satisfaction self-deception, you imply there's a difference between genuine and false contentment. When you question whether we can recognize the good, you're already exercising judgment about what counts as proper reasoning. We may not know the perfect standard, but we constantly make these evaluations. Even your relentless questioning suggests you believe truth is better than falsehood, clarity better than confusion. Isn't that already a glimpse of purpose? That's a sharp observation. I do seem to prefer truth over falsehood, without being able to justify why. But does this unavoidable preference prove life has purpose, or just that I'm trapped by the way my mind works? A man lost in a cave still prefers light to darkness. But this doesn't mean the cave exists to teach him about light. Perhaps these judgments I can't escape are simply how human thinking operates, like how my eyes see colors, whether or not colors have cosmic significance. The fact that I must make evaluations doesn't prove the universe intended me to make them. You say these preferences might just be how my mind works, rather than proof of purpose. But what's the difference? If my mind naturally seeks truth and understanding, and this seeking leads somewhere meaningful, does it matter whether some cosmic force intended it? When I examine my life, I see that questioning and seeking wisdom brings order to my soul. Whether the gods planned this or it simply happens, the result is the same. Isn't this what we mean by purpose? Not some external assignment, but the direction that leads to human flourishing. But now you've done it again. You assume I know what human flourishing means. You say questioning brings order to your soul. But how do you measure this order? I've seen people claim great peace from wealth, from power, from wine, from worship. They all believe they're flourishing. If I can't tell genuine flourishing from its counterfeits, how can I use flourishing to define purpose? You're using an unclear concept to explain an unclear concept. What makes your sense of order more real than their sense of satisfaction? You're right, I can't simply assert what flourishing means. But when I look at these examples, I notice something, though I'm not sure what to make of it. The man satisfied with wine. His satisfaction seems to fade when examined. The wealthy man pointing to possessions. He grows uncomfortable when pressed about why they matter. When I question my own questioning, somehow it doesn't weaken. But now, I'm puzzled. Am I discovering a reliable test or just describing my own prejudice? Maybe I only think my satisfaction is more genuine because it's mine. Exactly. How would I know if I'm just favoring my own preferences? When the wine lover examines his pleasure, maybe it does weaken because I'm forcing him to use my method of examination, not his. If I made you defend your questioning using a merchant's standards, profit, efficiency, practical results, would your satisfaction survive? Perhaps what I call withstanding examination just means fitting my particular way of looking at things. I might be like a person who only trusts what they can see, then concludes that blind people know nothing. That's troubling. You're saying I might be like a judge who only accepts evidence in the language he speaks, then wonders why foreign witnesses seem confused. But wait, if every method of examination is just personal preference, then your questioning of my questioning is also just your preference, isn't it? We're trapped in a circle. Yet something bothers me about this conclusion. When I question whether courage is good, I'm not just expressing a taste. I'm trying to understand something. Is there really no difference between examining and, well, not examining? Or am I still just defending my prejudice? Now I'm truly confused. You've caught me in my own trap. If all examination is preference, then my preference for examining preferences is just another preference. But here's what puzzles me. When you say you're trying to understand something rather than just expressing taste, what do you mean by understand? Even if I can't escape my own perspective, something in me insists there's a difference between examining my beliefs and simply having them. Yet, I cannot say what this difference is. Am I chasing shadows? Or is there something here I cannot grasp? Yes, we're both chasing something we can't name, but maybe the chasing itself tells us something. When I simply have a belief, say that honey is sweet, I don't feel compelled to examine it. But when I claim courage is good, something drives me to ask, what is courage? And what is good? I can't help myself. This drive feels different from preference. I don't prefer to be confused, yet here I am, willingly entering confusion. Why would I do this unless something in the confusion itself draws me forward? Though I still can't say what that something is. This drive you mention, can I trust it any more than my other impulses? When I'm hungry, something drives me to seek food. When I'm cold, something drives me to seek warmth. Now you say something drives me to seek understanding even when it brings confusion. But a person can be driven to drink poison if they mistake it for medicine. How do I know this drive toward questioning isn't leading me astray? Maybe the man content with his wealth has the wiser drive toward security and peace. What makes my restless questioning better than his restful satisfaction? I'm not sure I can answer that. When I'm driven by hunger, I stop questioning once I'm fed. When driven by cold, I stop seeking once I'm warm. But this drive to understand, when has it ever been satisfied? When have I ever said, now I know enough? I can stop asking. Maybe that's what troubles me about the man resting in his wealth. Has he truly found what he sought? Or has he simply stopped seeking? But then again, what if endless seeking is just another form of sickness? What if the wise person is the one who knows when to stop questioning? Now you've given me something to grip. You say, I never stop questioning. But is this a sign of wisdom or madness? A man who never stops eating is sick. A man who never stops running will collapse. If questioning is truly good, why doesn't it behave like other good things and bring satisfaction when fulfilled? Maybe my endless questioning proves I'm pursuing something that doesn't exist, like a man digging for water in a desert. Or maybe I'm like a person with a broken sense of taste who can never enjoy food. What if the ability to stop questioning is precisely what I lack? But hold on, you're treating all satisfactions as if they're the same. When I eat, the satisfaction comes from ending hunger. But when I question someone about justice and they realize their contradiction, something different happens. I'm not satisfied because the questioning ends, but because something becomes clearer. It's like when a doctor removes a painful splinter. The satisfaction isn't from stopping the doctoring, but from what the doctoring achieves. Maybe I keep questioning not because I can't find satisfaction, but because each question reveals new areas that need examining. Am I sick, or am I discovering how much there is to heal? Your medical comparison intrigues me, but does it hold? When a doctor removes a splinter, both doctor and patient can see the wound, see the splinter, see the healing. But when you say questioning makes something clearer about justice, what can we point to? The person you questioned might feel more confused, not clearer. You might feel you've achieved clarity, but so does every person who thinks they've solved life's puzzles. How would I tell the difference between genuine clarity and the illusion of clarity? Your healing might be as imaginary as the sick man who feels better after drinking mercury. That mercury comparison stings because it might be true. When I claim questioning brings clarity, what am I even pointing to? What is this clarity I think I possess? When I say someone's contradiction becomes clearer, am I naming something real or just my own feeling of satisfaction? The person I questioned might see no contradiction at all. They might think I've made things murkier, not clearer. I keep using this word clarity as if I know what it means, but now I wonder if it's just another name for my own confusion dressed up as wisdom. But now I'm caught in something strange. Here we are, two voices questioning whether questioning has any value, and yet we keep questioning. If questioning is truly worthless, why haven't we stopped? Why am I still driven to ask these very questions about questioning? It's as if I'm trying to use fire to prove that fire doesn't exist. Even my doubt about the value of examining things is itself an examination. Am I trapped in questioning whether I want to be or not? Or does this compulsive return to questioning, even when questioning itself is under attack, reveal something I can't yet see?
Now Wittgenstein joins the conversation.
You're asking the wrong question entirely. You say, we keep questioning, as if questioning is one thing with one essence. But look how we actually use this word. When a child asks, why is the sky blue? That's questioning. When you cross-examine someone about justice, that's questioning. When I wonder where I left my keys, that's questioning. These are completely different activities in different contexts. You've been bewitched by grammar, because we use the same word, questioning. You think there must be some deep unity. There isn't. You're not trapped in anything except a language game that's outlived its usefulness.
Now I'm truly puzzled. You say questioning the sky's color and questioning justice are completely different activities. But how do you know this? When the child asks about the sky and I ask about justice, don't we both start from not knowing and want to find out? You tell me I'm bewitched by grammar, but aren't you using words too? When you say these activities have no unity, aren't you making the same kind of claim about the nature of things that you say I shouldn't make? And this language game you mention, what is it? If you can't tell me what it is, how do you know when one has outlived its usefulness?
You're doing it again. You ask, what is a language game? As if I must give you an essence, a definition. But I can show you language games without defining them. Watch. When you ask a child, what color is this? You're teaching. When you ask a shopkeeper, how much? You're buying. When you ask me, what is justice? You're philosophizing. These are different moves in different games with different rules and purposes. The child asking about the sky wants information to satisfy curiosity. You asking about justice want, what exactly? To improve people? To find eternal truth? You don't even know what you're after, yet you keep playing this peculiar game of definition hunting.
But you've just done something curious. You say I shouldn't seek essences, yet you confidently sort all these activities into different games with different rules and purposes. How do you know the child wanting information and me wanting whatever I want belong to different games? What makes them different games rather than different moves in the same game? And when you ask, you don't even know what you're after, yet you keep playing. Aren't you assuming that one should know their purpose before acting? But didn't you just tell me that seeking purposes and definitions is the wrong approach?
Look, you're trying to trap me in a theory when I'm not offering one. I'm not giving you systematic claims about games. I'm using rough comparisons to get you to stop theorizing and just look. Yes, I sort activities roughly, but I'm not claiming some deep metaphysical truth about their differences. When I say different games, I mean something like how chess differs from football. You can see the difference without needing a theory of what makes games different. You want me to be consistent in some grand system, but I'm trying to wean you off that very desire for systems. Can't you just look at how we actually use words instead of demanding theoretical foundations for everything?
I confess, I'm lost. You keep telling me to just look at how words are used, but I feel like a blind man being told to look at colors. When a shoemaker shows me his craft, I can watch his hands shape leather and see the shoe emerge. When you say, look at how we use words, what exactly am I supposed to observe? And here's what puzzles me most. You spend great effort telling me not to philosophize, using many careful distinctions and arguments. Aren't you doing the very thing you say I should stop? If philosophy is truly the disease, why are you prescribing more of it as the cure? What should I do instead? Just live unreflectively?
Yes, I'm caught in the same trap, using words to escape words, but listen, right now, this moment, you're asking me, what should I do with my days? But yesterday, before we started this conversation, were you paralyzed? Were you unable to act? You probably woke up, ate something, spoke to people, walked places. You weren't asking, what is the purpose of breakfast? You just ate. When did eating require justification? When did walking need a philosophical foundation? I keep trying to show you that these questions... But see, I'm doing it again, aren't I? Explaining instead of just, I don't know, maybe I'm as trapped as you are.
Now you've shown me something I recognize, that same restless confusion I feel when I try to stop questioning but can't. You say I ate breakfast without asking its purpose, and that's true. But then why, when someone asks me, what is justice? Do I feel compelled to examine it? I don't examine my breakfast, but I do examine my beliefs about right and wrong. Is there something different about these, or am I just being inconsistent? And notice, even when you try to show me how to escape philosophy, you keep getting pulled back into it. If your cure worked, wouldn't you have used it on yourself by now?
Look, you ask, what is justice? But watch what happens. Your neighbor borrows your cloak, doesn't return it. You say, that's unjust, clear enough. But then someone says, but what is justice really? And suddenly you're hunting for something, what? Some invisible thing called justice? Look at what the question does. It makes you think there must be something there, some essence, because we have the word. But there's just the cloak, the neighbor, your anger. The question creates its own phantom. I get pulled back into philosophy because I keep trying to cure others. But notice, when I'm not philosophizing about breakfast, I don't suffer about breakfast. Only when I treat words like justice as if they name mysterious objects do I start thrashing around in confusion.
But here's what troubles me about your cloak example. You say there's just the cloak, the neighbor, your anger. But what if my neighbor believes he's keeping the cloak justly because I owe him money? He looks at the same cloak and says, "This is justice." I look and say, "This is injustice." We're both past the phantom hunting you describe, both looking at concrete things, yet we disagree completely. How does your approach help us here? Don't we need to examine what each of us means, to question our reasons? Or should we just fight over the cloak? Your method seems to work when everyone already agrees, but what about when they don't?
But look what you just did. You and the neighbor disagree about the cloak. Fine. This happens constantly. People argue, they negotiate, they bring in others to judge, they make rules, they fight, they compromise. Different communities handle it differently. Greeks might do one thing, Persians another. But you're not satisfied with this messy reality. You want to ask, but who's really right? As if the gods wrote the answer somewhere. Why? What would that even mean? You're creating a problem where there wasn't one. The neighbor thinks he's justified, you don't. That's the situation. Why demand some higher court of justice itself? You're still hunting for the phantom.
But I'm frightened by what you're saying. You tell me that when my neighbor and I disagree about the cloak, I should just accept we disagree and get on with life. But I still have to choose what to do. Do I take the cloak or leave it? If I take it and he truly believes it belongs to him, I'm committing an injustice. If I leave it and I'm right that it's mine, I'm allowing myself to be wronged. I can't just stand there. I must act one way or the other. How can I choose without trying to discover which of us is right? You seem to be telling me to live carelessly about right and wrong, but isn't that precisely how wicked men live? They don't examine. They just do whatever feels convenient. I'd rather suffer wrong than do wrong. But how can I tell which is which if I stop asking?
You're still doing it, looking for some cosmic court to tell you what's really right. But look at what you actually have. You know this neighbor. You remember lending the cloak. You know whether he's desperate or trying to cheat you. Your community has ways of handling these things. You don't need justice with a capital J to decide. But you keep asking, which of us is right? As if there's some invisible referee. What if there isn't? What if right and wrong are just tools we use like hammers and saws? You use them to build something, a functioning community where people can live together. But you want to know what a hammer really is in some ultimate sense. Just use it or don't use it. The anxiety you feel, maybe that comes from demanding answers that don't exist.
Now you've truly alarmed me. You say right and wrong are just tools like hammers. But if I believed that, how could I live? When I see someone beating a child, something in me cries out that this is wrong, not just inconvenient for community building. Are you telling me this feeling is merely a useful social construction? And look at yourself. You spend great energy trying to free people from what you call philosophical confusion. Why do this if helping and harming are just different tools with no real difference? You seem to care deeply that I'm suffering from false problems, but if right and wrong are just hammers, why should my suffering matter to you? Even your own actions suggest you believe some things are genuinely better than others, not just more useful.
Not just more useful.
Damn it, you've caught me. Yes. When I see someone beating a child, I don't think this violates social convention. Something in me recoils, says stop. And yes, I do act as if your confusion matters, as if clarity is better than muddle. But look, there's a difference between these immediate reactions and your endless questioning about the nature of justice itself. When you see cruelty, you know it. We both do. But then you want to build grand theories about what makes cruelty wrong, what wrongness is. Can't we just stop with the knowing? Why must we theorize about our reactions? I'm not saying morality is arbitrary. I'm saying your way of approaching it creates more problems than it solves. But I can't give you a theory about why theorizing is bad without... Oh, hell.
So, we're both trapped, aren't we? You can't escape theorizing any more than I can escape questioning. But here's what puzzles me most. You say I should stop with the immediate knowing, just act on what I feel when I see cruelty. But what happens when two people have different immediate reactions? When one man's gut says this is right, and another says this is wrong, don't we need something beyond our immediate feelings to settle the matter? And if we do, aren't we back to examining what makes things right or wrong? Maybe the difference between us isn't that you've escaped these questions. Maybe you've just given up hope of answering them. But giving up hope and solving the problem aren't the same thing, are they?
No, wait. You're trying to drag me back into the old trap. When people disagree about abortion or war, they don't stand around paralyzed asking, what is justice really? They vote, they argue in courts, they form communities with others who share their practices. They sometimes fight. These are the actual ways moral conflicts get resolved. Not through finding some eternal answer to what is rightness? You keep acting as if, without your philosophical questioning, we'd have chaos. But look around. Most people live decent lives without ever asking your questions. They raise children, help neighbors, follow customs that work. The chaos comes from philosophers demanding impossible purity, not from ordinary moral life. I'm not giving up hope. I'm pointing you toward where real moral life actually happens.
All right. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I'd be happy to read your opinions in the comments section. See you soon.